Let's Get Tryin is a podcast that challenges us to live real and authentic lives, no matter the journey we're on. From life to faith to even mental health, host Erin Lee presents the importance of never giving up. So let's get Tryin with Erin Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Let's Get Tryin with Erin Lee. My name's Erin Lee. I'm so glad that you're here. Really excited about today's episode because I get to have my beautiful wife back on the podcast, and she's always awesome when she comes on here and shares some of the things that she's so good at. And she gives me somebody to talk to rather than talking to myself, because sometimes that gets old. So I'm excited to have her on here talking about asking good questions and how important that is to living an authentic life. Well, before we jump into that, as always, I have to ask. I have to put out what's the word? I have to put out a request, or man, I'm losing my mind. What word is it? It doesn't matter. Subscribe to the podcast. Share it on social media with your friends and family. If you didn't know, we're trying to do this more and more. We have a YouTube channel. You can go over to YouTube, search for Erin Lee, Let's Get Tryin', and you'll find our YouTube channel. I'd love it if you subscribe to that. We're trying to do some more video type podcast, put more of these type experiences on there. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to look at my beautiful face. Not really, but yes, you do get to see me and my wife in this episode. So be sure to continue watching because it's awesome. But yeah, share this podcast, rate and review it. It would be really, really helpful. But as always, I'm just incredibly humbled to be able to do this and to talk with you guys, and to share my heart and what's going on with me, but also taking those things that are happening with me. And hopefully, as we talk about those, we can journey together, because I'm realizing so much of this stuff is all stuff we deal with, but a lot of us are living alone, and we're trying to be better about that and sharing in community with one another. So, that being said, there's a really, really important aspect to this living authentic, and even if you're in that mental health realm, if you struggle with anxiety and depression, I found that a big piece to all this is being able to get out of your own head and think about other people. That's a huge piece in helping us with anxiety and depression. So, as we go into this conversation about questions, maybe figure out how you can change your perspective and think more about someone else and how you can ask them questions, learn more about them, and maybe that in turn will help you. So let's go. Let's get over to this conversation I had with my beautiful wife, Jerrica.
If you had to pick a movie title that best described our marriage, not based on the plot of the movie, just the title alone, what would you pick?
An Incredible Journey. Is that not a good choice?
Is that a movie?
Isn't Feifel in the movie Feifel? Isn't the tagline for that movie?
Right, but that's the tagline.
It's part of the title.
You're supposed to say Beauty and the Beast.
Why am I the Beast?
I didn't say you were.
All right, so we're asking questions in this episode. We're talking about asking good questions. Yep. Jerrica and I just celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary just a few days ago. Yep, 14 is my favorite. Jerrica, you actually asked that question to a couple that we were having dinner with a few nights ago. And I want to start off, why do you ask questions like that to people?
I love getting to know people. I love hearing people's stories. I love knowing where they come from, everything. And I don't like to monopolize a conversation. So if I'm asking questions, it's like handing another person the microphone and saying, okay, here, it's your turn to talk.
Okay.
And sometimes the questions are funny. Sometimes they're serious. It's just based on who I'm talking to, how well I know them. And, if they're happy, if they seem upset. I feel like people can open up if you give them a jumping off point to start the conversation.
I love that about you, because that's something that like you do, like not just with random people. Like you do it with most of the people that you spend more than 5 minutes with. Sometimes I've seen you do it with less people.
Complete strangers.
Yeah, complete strangers. But that being said, I love that about you, and that's why one of the reasons I wanted you on here, because I think you do this so well in asking questions to people. So why is asking good questions? Why does that matter? Like if you're talking to someone and they're like asking that question to you, why does this matter? Like, why should I do this? How would you answer that?
I think it helps to understand people. It gives you more of their backstory, or it can just open the door to other conversations. You know, if you're talking to someone and you don't, from the outside, it looks like you all don't have anything in common. The more you ask questions, the more you realize, okay, we do have things in common, and it creates a bond that, you know, can be expanded on and give you a connection with those people.
What you do that's different than I think most people is, most of the time people want to talk about themselves. And what I appreciate about you is you want to learn about other people.
I know everything about me. I want to learn about other people.
So why is that so important? Like in the world we live in, like why is caring more about what someone has to say than what you have to say? Why does that matter?
I mean, I feel like it's what Jesus would do.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not able to do life with every single person I meet. So getting to ask them questions when I am with them, it just gives me a little insight into them and their life. And again, you know, it's just giving someone an opportunity to share a little bit of their heart with you, get to know them. I just love people.
Well, I get that, and that's awesome, because most of the time I don't. And the thing, though, I think we need to kind of drill into a little bit is how often we tend to think about ourselves more than we do other people.
Yeah.
So the majority of the time we come in contact with somebody, we want to talk about ourselves. We want to share who we are, and we forget that they're a person too. And being a listener actually is a very valuable thing. And so for me, at least, I'm learning that if I listen, I learn a lot of new things about somebody. And then in turn, my relationship with them grows because it's not a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
So let's lean this into authenticity.
Yeah.
Why is asking good questions matter in this whole authentic living, being real, and all that stuff?
I know for a lot of people, even close to me, it's hard for them to open up because they don't know how much people want to know. They don't know if, you know, a certain person is safe to open up to. So when someone does open up, it's like they're sharing a little bit of their heart with you.
Right.
Which then, you know, will hopefully inspire the person listening to share the same kind of vulnerability and open up about things, maybe how they can relate or what they've been through and how it can help that person. And, you know, something you've talked about so much is how powerful it is when you learn, like, okay, I'm not the only person that's struggling with this. You know, when we lost our baby back in 2013, I could have just not talked about it,
Mhm.
which would have been fine
Right.
because that's how some moms have to process a miscarriage. But for me, I needed to talk about it. And what it allowed me to do was whenever I would hear other women had gone through it, it gave me a little piece of not information like, you know, their favorite color or, you know, whatever, but it gave me an opportunity to say, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And I've been where you are. And if you ever need anything, like, you're not alone. I've walked this road and I'm happy to do it with you.
That's a very deep side of it. And it's a really important side of it. You know, I look back at those questions you ask about, you know, movie titles and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is it engages people on a surface level that says, hey, I actually want to know more about you.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but it does something to break a barrier. But then through that barrier that you've removed,
Yeah.
you've created an environment where you can ask the deeper questions.
Right.
Now, you know, that takes time.
Right.
Right. You're not going to just, you know, get to the really, really tough stuff right after that question.
Right.
But it does open a door and kind of slide the door open for you to get down a little deeper in that.
Right. Yeah. You're more invited into it than just, you know, like swinging the door open and inviting yourself in.
Right.
It's no, the friend knows you're coming and they've left the door unlocked for you.
Yeah. And why I love that is it does something for all of us that I think for people like me who's an introvert and scared to have conversations, just asking surface level questions that aren't, I'm not talking about small talk.
Right.
I'm talking about funny things or surface level things, but that still are personal.
Right.
And you learn something more about somebody.
Yeah.
So like what you're doing is you're removing the barriers that are hiding authenticity.
Yeah.
And you're allowing authenticity to come out.
Yeah, I like that.
And I love that idea of asking good questions removes those barriers.
Yeah.
It removes the barriers and you know, lack of a better term, authenticity can come play, you know,
Yeah.
like come out and play.
Yeah.
And there's really good things that come from that. So not everybody receives these questions well, though, right?
No.
We need to.
I've had a handful of people that.
Well, and that's what I'm gonna get at. Okay, so you have those moments where you have people that, hey, they'll answer anything you want to ask them. But I know you have people that you ask them and you ask them and you ask them and they give you nothing.
Yeah.
So what do you do? What have you done?
Yeah.
And is everybody penetrable, I guess is the best word.
So the one that comes to mind the quickest is I was on a plane trip and I love planes because I get to sit beside someone random.
It is my worst nightmare. I'm freaking out so much. You know this. I hate it.
I think it was on my trip back from MD Anderson with my mom, and I was flying back. She was staying there in recovery. My brother was with her, and I was flying back for Abram's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And the person I was sitting next to, you kind of have to put feelers out just to see if there's someone that's going to like.
Okay, what's a filler?
So, like if you're on a plane, like, oh, are you traveling, from home to home?
Right.
And are you going for something fun? Is it work? And, yeah, just do you like flying? Do you fly a lot? Things like that.
Yeah.
And the guy that I was sitting next to, I mean, he was, I'm not a good judge of age, but I'm going to say a grandpa. And when you get steady one-word answers. And then after the fourth question, he puts the ear pods in.
Oh yeah.
That's a good indicator that he's not in a talkative mood.
He's not up for it.
And that's okay. Not everybody is, and that's okay. But yeah, you respect the boundary.
Sure.
Some people want to, and some people don't. And I remember telling you at a restaurant once when we were waiting for our table, I was talking to the person next to me, and you were like, Jerrica, maybe they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And all I said was, they don't have to answer my questions.
See, that brings me so much anxiety. Just us talking about it brings me so much anxiety. There's this is something like, if people saw our family in public, this happens a lot because you've taught our kids well in this. Our kids will talk to strangers.
I know that's not so good.
Right. No stranger danger in our family.
Oh.
No, but you have taught them well to say thank you, say hello. Like, I always love that, that those things are important. But we will be in the whole party, and my kids will start asking questions to some random person, and I am cringing. I'm like wanting to crawl up
and I'm clapping in the
yes,
background.
you were so excited. It makes me overwhelmed.
Sorry.
Okay, no. But what I'm getting at is, okay, it's a person like me who's an introvert.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That is incredibly hard for me to just make small talk with somebody. A lot of people even think that I'm mad at them or I don't like them.
Intimidating.
But a lot of times it's more out of fear.
Yeah.
Like, it's my own insecurities that is struggling with what to say and in those moments. But what I've learned in these things is that it's okay. It's okay to try. And what I think that we need to acknowledge is that, with those people like you're talking about on a plane, you're going to have maybe a couple hours with them, and that's it. You're probably not going to encounter them again.
Right.
And I know you've said things like, oh, I may never see him again, so no big deal.
Right.
Well, to me, like, those 2 hours I'm on this plane could determine the rest of my life for some reason. But what I've learned is, it's okay to have those conversations. But for me, the more authentic relationships come with someone I know.
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about is beautiful for those people that we are, coming in contact with, that probably not going to be an ongoing thing. But I know you've done that with some coworkers that, new people would come in, you'd ask them questions because you know what? You're trying to build a relationship with them. That's good. I find that I want to ask more questions with the people that I'm connected with on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So I think there's a balance in it all. Like, you have to kind of categorize these people. Like, let's acknowledge that, there's going to be a group of people that are not going to give in to this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be those people that you're going to have to push a little more.
Yeah.
That you're going to be in contact with them on a regular basis. And you know what? You just need to accept the fact that if you give up, this may not go anywhere. So you might as well just
challenge accepted.
Yeah, go for it. And then there's the people that are in your life that they need you to do that. They need you to ask the deeper questions.
Yeah.
They need you to ask the good questions, because maybe they're in a lukewarm season of their life, or maybe their faith is wandering, or maybe they don't even have a relationship with Jesus, and they need you to ask the right questions, the good questions to help impact them. So I think there's a lot of beauty in asking good questions and understanding the person you're asking them to.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say is, think more on the deeper side of things. You talked about the miscarriage, and you talked about the being able to relate to other women that are going through that. But how is asking good questions require you to be vulnerable
Mm.
with other people?
That's funny you ask that. Because place I used to work at, it was well known after I had been there for a little bit. Like your first day at work, like you just better be prepared for Jerrica to drill you with questions.
Hazing.
Yes,
Hazing with Jerrica.
basically. I felt so bad about it, but then I was like, I do it because I love you. Like I don't know you, but I love you. But it was funny because it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years into it that I had someone be like, well, why aren't you answering the questions?
Mm.
And, you know, my thing is, again, like I joked about it earlier, but I know everything about me. Like I want to know about you. But I had someone start asking me, you know, like, well, how would you answer that?
Mm.
And so it kind of held me accountable. Like, okay, I probably don't need to ask a question that I don't want to answer myself.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
All right. So tell me this. If you're talking to me, as an introvert, you know my crazy, how would you encourage me to talk to someone more on that surface level?
I think it's good to start with just something fun.
Yeah.
Or something that makes them think. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't.
But when we first started dating, I mean, I had a list of questions for you once when we were on the phone, you know, calling with a calling card or something because, you know,
long distance.
Yes.
We lived long
back
distance,
then, yeah.
right? Calling cards.
And I asked you just, what's your favorite candy? Who's your favorite sports team? What's your favorite color?
I don't remember this.
I still have that piece of paper, by the way.
Are you serious?
I still have that, yes.
Uh-uh.
In my errand box. Yeah, I do.
Where is that thing?
It's downstairs in our basement, along with
Okay.
everything else that we own. But I would you just start with something that, you know, isn't going to make someone like cringe, you know? Like, what's your most embarrassing moment? You don't start with that,
Yeah,
obviously.
right.
But, you know, something fun. Like, okay, if, you know, there was going to be a movie about your life, who would play you? You know, just something generic, but makes someone think or brings up, you know, a happy memory or a happy feeling or something, because I think people are more likely to answer truthfully if they don't feel threatened or something. So,
yeah, I agree with that. You know, fear drives you out of a lot of this. Like it can drive you away from
absolutely,
from all this. And, you know, I remember, well, okay, for example, we were at a place recently and it was awkward. It was just a really awkward social environment. And I remember not knowing whether I should go talk to this person or whether I should just stand there.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm battling in my head. Should I go say something to this person? And they give me no vibe that I can't do that.
Right.
But for some reason, fear of like, okay, I'm going to go over here and make a fool out of myself.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we, myself included, neglect people.
Yeah.
Not because of them, but because of us.
Yeah.
Because we're too insecure about what might happen to us to actually acknowledge that I could have a genuine conversation with somebody.
But you know what I would say is that so many people feel that too.
Yes. Well, and that's why I'm, bringing it up. You know, one of the things that I'm learning through, I'm Jerrica knows this, but I'm going back to counseling and kind of working through some issues. And one of the things that my counselor has challenged me to think about, and this has really been, man, eye-opening to me, is what are the, and I'm going to call it a fake gospel. What are the fake gospel principles that I've believed my whole life?
Yeah.
And just this morning, I was spending time kind of unpacking one of my childhood memories as, and I haven't even told you this yet.
No,
but,
I'm very
well,
zoned in on you.
and I'm not going to get into the details
Right.
because I don't want to bog down this episode with my sad story. But because of one of my childhood traumas, I came up with this principle that I have believed my entire life, this fake gospel piece that I've believed my entire life. And it's expect to be humiliated.
Oof.
That's, I mean, it was like a God send moment when I realized that that's what came out of that trauma was
Oh my word, babe.
expect to be humiliated. And I have carried that. I mean, actually labeled that on my body as a tattoo, if you will. It's been almost unremovable.
Yeah, ingrained in you.
My whole life, that now I'm realizing, well, just this morning, I'm able to identify what it is.
Oh my word.
And that is this whole expect to be humiliated, which now look at it, tying it to what we're just talking about.
Yeah.
If I expect to be humiliated, I am not going to go talk to somebody.
No.
Because I expect to be humiliated.
Right. You stay in your safe zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work I've got to do with this, and it's going to be an ongoing battle. But I really want to acknowledge that we have these, and while I'll say a blanket statement is your fake gospels that we believe, but there's principles within that fake gospel that we believe.
Yeah.
And you may have one of those. And that's why you don't ask questions to people, because you're afraid to ask questions to people.
Or maybe you ask questions so that other people don't ask you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe your principle is don't share who you really are. And then going back to bring this full circle, authenticity gets suppressed.
Yeah.
Because you tell yourself, I can't be vulnerable. I can't share these kind of things.
Right.
So actually asking good questions pushes you out of that. And like we said, it removes that barrier.
Yeah.
And allows authenticity to come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, as I'm unpacking that, I'm realizing the power of just that one value. And I've got more values that I've got to unpack, but it's shown me a lot about me and why I make the choices that I make. So it's important to ask good questions. And when we say good questions, that's an important piece too. And I want us to finish up with that.
Sure.
We can ask questions, but like you were saying, they have to be purposeful questions.
Yes.
They have to be questions that maybe connect with someone on a personal level. It could be fun or it could be something else. But so how do we ask good questions? What would you if you're talking to our listeners, how would you encourage them? Sum it all up for us.
Oh man.
No pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel silly to admit this, but I have I can't believe I'm saying this.
I'm so excited to hear this.
No, it's not. It's just, you're not going to be surprised by it, but I have a Pinterest board saved of just like questions you can ask people to get to know them. I know, but they're good questions.
No, I believe it.
Oh, I know you do. But, it may seem silly, but if you're unsure, I think it's okay to, Google get to know you questions and pick out 2 or 3 that you just have in your back pocket so that, you're not trying to come up with something on the fly, but, you can kind of, sift through it and figure out, okay, would I feel comfortable asking this to someone that I may not really know? Or can I answer this if they ask me?
Right.
Um, I think that would probably be, if I could only share
Yeah.
one thing, like that's what I would do is, go into it already having an idea of maybe a couple questions you might want to ask.
Yeah. And I'll wrap up saying this. Intentionality is really important.
Yeah.
Do it because you care about people.
Right.
Don't do it because you just want to be good at asking questions.
No.
Come at it as, hey, you know what? I want to know people better. I want to love people better. I want to encourage authenticity in other people's lives because, man, we live in a fake world and we've got to do something about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Babe, thanks for being an awesome example of this. Like, I genuinely mean that. You do this so well and you lead me well in that. So
I love you.
And I love you.
I'm going to show you that piece of paper, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of all the questions?
Mm-hmm. It's
Should
on a
be
rainbow piece of
interesting.
notepad paper.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, babe.
I love you.
Love you. So I hope you were blessed by that conversation with my wife, Jerrica. Man, so much of what she was talking about and we were able to have a conversation about is really important. And I think a lot of us are kind of afraid of it, especially people that are introverts like me, or maybe you've been burned in the past, or maybe you just don't do well in social environments. This stuff can really help. And, you have to get creative with it, and that's okay. But my challenge to you is don't let yourself be drawn back because of fear. Like I told her, fear will drive us in such negative places. So my encouragement to you and to myself is to get out there, ask good questions, and maybe it allows us to live a more authentic life while encouraging others to do the same. All right, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends and your family. Remember, we have a YouTube channel. Just type in Aaron Lee, Let's Get Tryin. Should pop up there. Subscribe to the podcast. Hopefully, we'll have more of these video podcasts as well. Also, I had a plea in my last episode, and I'm going to ask again. If you're willing to help me with some feedback on the podcast, shoot me an email or find me on social media and send me a message. But you can shoot me an email at Aaron, AARON, at Aaron T, as in Travis, which is my middle name, Lee.com. So Aaron at AaronTLee.com. I'd love to get to know you a little better, and maybe we can start this dialogue of how this podcast can be better, how we can help you guys and help one another. So yeah, consider doing that. But as always, you know what we're going to do. We're going to live real. We're going to be authentic. So let's get trying.